Hi, I'm Colby, the editor-in-chief of After Dinner Conversation. We've been running this now as a monthly magazine for about 3.5, 4 years now. And about 2 years ago, I created a video for writers basically saying like, hey, here's what we're looking for. And the reason I created it was because we were getting spammed like we were a literary magazine, which we are, but we have a very specific niche we're looking for. And so, like 85% of what we were getting was stuff that is just not what we do. And so, it doesn't matter how good it was written, it's not what we do. And my hope was to narrow that down so that we would have more submissions of the type that we were looking for and we could save our readers, our volunteer readers, time. And so, I posted that video. It's been very successful and it has helped. The problem is we've gone from 5 or 10 submissions a week now to 20 or 30 submissions a week. So even that pared down amount still means we have a lot of stuff now we're reading. We're kind of a victim of our own success. So I thought I would make a follow-up video for those of you that have already watched the first video that wanted some additional assistance in knowing what we're looking for. And I really appreciate you watching this video, and I really appreciate you taking seriously our volunteer readers' time and not having them read stuff that just isn't what we do. So I've tried to be even clearer in this video than in my last video. So let me just go through and first talk about what we are looking for. We are looking for a short scenario story that asks an ethical question, forces the reader to make a decision. So if your ethical question is, what is love? That's probably too vague, right? If it's, should you put down a sick dog? Well, yes, you probably should. There's no gray area in there. So what we're looking for is something where it's a slight twist on what's going on in the world that might lead reasonable minds to a different conclusion. I'm going to give you some examples here really quickly. I wrote them down. So for some examples, if everyone is cheating and everyone knows everyone is cheating, is it cheating? This is the Lance Armstrong story, right? Everybody knew everyone was doping. So is it cheating to do what is ostensibly understood by everyone to be allowed, but technically not correct? That's a great story. We've published that story with rabbits eating carrots from the forbidden forest. Can good ideas for public policy come from horrible sources and motivation? We often throw out ideas being like, oh, this is from, World War II's Hitler, Germany. We can't ever do that. And it's like, well, that's where the Autobahn came from. And so that's an easy question, right? Can we cherry pick good ideas from horrible motivations? You could write a story about that. Under what situations, if any, is it okay to take your own life? Obviously, there are ones about end of life, terminal cancer. That's too easy. Let's take some harder ones. A person on the top floor of a burning building where help might come, or they might live, but in horrible pain forever. I've got a whole list of them here. You get the idea that once you start thinking of these kinds of questions, they're everywhere. They're absolutely everywhere. And they're not hard to come by. They're simple questions about the ethics of our everyday choices. And they can be in any genre, right? We've never gotten a Western that we've published. We've only gotten a few submissions ever, which is a shame because it would be so easy to write a story that, you were in the Old West and you came across your spouse's murderer out in the middle of nowhere. And you could just literally shoot them and walk away, and no one would ever know. No one would ever know. The only thing that's keeping you from doing it is the belief that killing is wrong and that the justice system was served. Do you do it or do you not do it? That's a Western. That's an easy story to write set in a Western. We've never gotten that story. We've never gotten stories related to any sort of romance. But this idea, we've gotten a few that were pretty close to being published, actually. I should take that back. But this idea of, what should a partner ask of you and what are you willing to do beyond your comfort zone as part of a relationship and as part of a give and take versus part of setting boundaries? That's a story we'd publish. We've never gotten that submission. Once your brain gets thinking about these simple scenarios, you could write them all day. But that's not what authors often do for us. What they do is they write some literary piece they think is wonderful, and they send it to us hoping that it's what we're looking for. It's probably not, unless you just got really lucky. We do get stories like that, but they're almost universally written by people that are philosophy professors, ethics professors, um, physicists who just write as a hobby. And so they're thinking about these questions anyway, and they just happen to write something that fits our magazine. All right, so let me tell you what we don't want. Just as some things that we've gotten way too many of. And if you've made it 5 minutes into this video, thank you so much. We don't want a straight utilitarian trolley problem. We've published it way too many times. We've published way too many variations on it way too many times. Take one life to save five. You'd have to put a really amazing twist on it at this point for it to be something that we haven't already published a million times. Medical choices. We've gotten a lot of medical stuff over the times that we've published, but that's well has run dry. The idea of taking the heart from a pig to save a human, or heart from a clone to save a human, or taking something without medical consent to save someone else, or doing experiments on people against their will in order to find the cure for something that saves millions of lives. That medical trope we've just seen so many times. You'd have to do something really amazing for it not to have already been published by someone else earlier already. The other one is the meeting the God one. Meeting God. We get a lot of meeting God asking questions. There's nothing wrong with that. Those are great things. We've just gotten so many of them. It would have to be something really impressive for us to publish it. The problem of evil and Epicurus. We've gotten a million variations of that, of how can God be both all-knowing and all-good and all-powerful. He can't be, or she can't be. You'd have to bring something really amazing to the table. So those things that I'm saying that we don't want, those are all sort of like level 1 things. Not very complicated. It's like your entry level when you're thinking about ethics. And those are all great. We've published them, but that's the problem. We've already published them and variations of them so many times. So how do you come up with some ideas that we haven't heard before? The easiest way, if you're writing specifically for us, and I really hope you do, is go to YouTube and watch the crash course philosophy videos that talk about all the different theories of philosophy and ethics. And just think about and watch those videos and think about them in the framework of how would this fit into a short story? There's another lady named Philosophy Tube on YouTube. She does great stuff as well. There's lots of podcasts, there's lots of things. And once you start thinking about these scenarios, it's very easy to take a concept about ethics or philosophy and shove it into a scenario. Once you do say that, now once you've got this idea and you've got something you're ready to send us, ask yourself, can I make it shorter and still convey the idea? So if your idea is, how do you weigh memories of the past versus potential memories of the future experiences? We've gotten a couple of stories like that were amazing, where people traded their future for their memories so they could relive memories, or they traded their memories, they've sold their memories in order to have more future. Oh, by the way, don't go back and save Kennedy or whatever. Changing the past stuff, we've seen way too many of those. It's just not, you'd have to do something so amazing, it would be really hard to do well. Anyway, so once you've got your story idea, that's the thing that we want to publish. Everything else that you're about to write, we don't want to publish. It's just the tool to get us that idea. So if we pick up your story and we're 2 pages into it and you're still describing the room the person's in, the way that they look at their loved ones, the clothes they're wearing, the feelings that they have about whatever, that's all stuff that we're not interested in. We're going to either cut or we're just going to stop reading and send you a rejection letter. Here's where your story almost always starts: when the main character is about to make the first decision. Everything prior to that is just like you warming up, and we don't need any of that. That's why our stories tend to be best when they are about 2,500 to 3,500 words. We have published stuff that's 6 or 7,000 words, but it's not because the author included a bunch of details about what the room looked like or how the smell reminded them of their grandmother's perfume. It's because the concept they're trying to convey is so sophisticated that it takes 6 or 7,000 words to create the scenario correctly. I'll give you an example of that. There was a story we published called The Crate, where in one society, everyone had to live in a crate, no one could see each other, and there was sort of forced equality, right? Where you couldn't judge people by how they looked, you couldn't judge people by their skill sets or their abilities or anything, and that you only interacted through text-based interactions. It was perfect equality. And some people didn't like it because they thought they wanted the ability to excel. And so they escaped to the neighboring society where there were literally scoring systems for people, and you got different access to housing and medical care and everything. It was like the most, you know, focused on results, hierarchical, how pretty you are, how smart you are, how productive you are, how rich you are society. And it literally created where you fit in that society. So you could move only from a level 4 to a level 3 if you were born attractive or if you were born particularly intelligent and could prove it. That's just a scenario that took 6,000 words to create. It's just a hard scenario to explain all the details of one person escaping to the other and seeing the other side. I hope this has helped you understand what we're looking for, because we are not like another literary magazine. There are 1,000 literary magazines all trying to publish the best thing someone will submit them that is perfectly written. Yes, we want good writing, but we get lots of good writing. What we're always struggling to find is good scenarios succinctly written that churn your brain, right? That really get you arguing with your friends about, like, no, that's not what a good person would do. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sitting through 12 minutes of this. I really hope this has helped you. And I wish you all the best, and I wish you good luck in your submissions. Bye.